Hey everyone, Shane here with eTrailer.com. Today I have a 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLC. I'm going to walk through how to install the CURT Class 3 Trailer Hitch receiver. This is what our hitch is going to look like when it's installed. You can see our cross tube is completely hidden behind the bumper fascia. All we can really see is our receiver tube, so it maintains that nice clean look for the Mercedes. Adding a Class 3 hitch like this is going to give you a lot of different options. Maybe you want to put a bike rack on. You don't want to load them inside the vehicle, take up some extra room, or maybe you don't want to get a bike rack for the top of the roof. Adding a bike rack back here to the back is going to make it a lot easier when loading and unloading those bikes. Maybe you want to put a cargo carrier on. Get some items from inside, put them outside, and make a little bit more room for passengers. Or maybe you just want to bring some extra stuff with you on your trip. Maybe you want to pull a small trailer. This hitch is going to allow you to do all of those things. It's going to have a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, reinforced collar, give us a little extra stability there. With having the 2" by 2", it's going to give us a lot of different options for hitch mount accessories. Hitch pin hole is going to be 5/8 inch in diameter. I'm going to take a standard 5/8 hitch pin. Pin and clip does not come with this hitch, however it can be found here at eTrailer as well. Rolled steel safety chain loops, you can see very large openings. It will accommodate some of the larger size safety chain hooks. Now I'm going to give you a few measurements and weight capacities to help when deciding on any of those hitch mounted accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the outermost part of our fascia, you're looking at about 6.5 inches. That number is important for any of your hitch mounted accessories that may fold up, like your bike racks and cargo carriers. You're going to make sure they're not going to make contact. From the ground, the top innermost part of our receiver tube is going to be about 12 inches. Keep that number in mind for any of your hitch mount accessories that may sit a little bit lower. They are going to require a raised shank. I will recommend, since this is below 13 inches, if you put a ball mount on because you're going to be pulling the trailer, always put it in the rise position. You can find different options for ball mounts and balls here at eTrailer. Another thing is if you plan on pulling a trailer that has lights on it, I recommend adding some wiring. You can find the different options here at eTrailer as well. As far as our weight capacities go, we're going to have a 900-pound max tongue weight, which is going to be the downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube. So when loading the cargo carrier, bike racks, pulling a trailer, you want to make sure you're not exceeding that. We're going to have a 6,000-pound gross trailer weight. That's how much the hitch can pull. That's going to be the trailer plus the load included. Always recommend checking the owner's manual of the vehicle. Make sure the vehicle can withstand that amount of weight. You're going to go with the lowest number between the vehicle and the hitch. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's walk through how to get it installed. Start your installation. If you have exhaust tips where your exhaust runs into the tip, then you're going to need to remove the tips. You're just going to follow the instructions. There's 4 bolts on each one to remove. Ours does not. These are actually fake. So we're going to skip that step and go to actually lowering the exhaust. We need to take a strap. You can pretty much hang it from anywhere. We're going to go underneath the exhaust pipe. And then we're going to kind of tighten that up on that pipe. We're going to have 3 isolators we need to remove so that we can lower our exhaust. We're going to have one here. We're going to have one here. And if we file the pipe up, we're going to have one here. Now your instructions are going to tell you to remove that rubber isolator off of the peg. These back 2 actually have screws or bolts. So we're going to remove the bolts on these 2 and we're going to remove the isolator off the 3rd one up here in the center. We're going to take a 10mm socket, 12 point, to remove these. You're going to have one on the other side. We can use some lubricant. Soapy water usually works pretty well. We'll spray it on that peg. And then we're just going to get our pry bar in here. Work that off. Then on each side, around the bottom, we're going to have a push pin fastener. You can take a pick, flathead screwdriver. We're going to pry out this center. If you don't have a trim panel tool, you can find one here at eTrailer. You want to make sure you get this base out. If they come apart, you can put them back together. Just make sure you get both pieces out. Then we'll come back with a 10mm socket. We're going to remove these 2 bolts. Once you get these 2 out, we're going to move right here to the center. right where the edge of your exhaust shield kind of curves down, you're going to look straight up. There's going to be a 10mm socket, or I'm sorry, bolt up there. We're going to remove that. And then we're going to repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle. Next, we're going to come to each wheel well. This trim piece. We're going to grab it and pop it out. Probably going to have to work it a little bit. We're going to pop it out like that. We're going to come to the inside of the liner. There's going to be a pushpin fastener here and then one right below it. We need to remove both of those, and then we're going to have one right in the center. We'll be able to pull our liner out and then get it from inside. That will loosen this lower piece. So again, we'll take our pick and our trim panel tool, and we're going to do this just the same way we did the bottom one. Pry out the center, and then again, make sure the base comes out as well. If they separate, we can put them back together. We're going to do that same thing with this lower one. Kind of pull out your fascia, pull your liner back. That other fastener is going to be right there. This is going to come out the same way the other ones did. Then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. Then we're going to take an 8mm socket. We're going to remove all the nuts that are holding our heat shield in place. Once you get all the nuts holding the heat shield up, we're going to pull our heat shield out. We're going to kind of have to try to slide it out on the side here. You're going to have to work with it a little bit to get it out. And pull down on your exhaust just a little and go and slide that out. We're going to set this aside for now. We need to remove a couple of sensor wires. We're going to have one like this on each side. It's going to be right on the outside, right behind the tire, up on the back of the fascia. This little white tab here, it's a lot. So you can take a flathead screwdriver, trim panel tool, and we need to pop that out. Then what we're going to do is we're going to push down on it and then pull out. These can be kind of a pain to get out. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see here. That one actually came off pretty easy. What you're going to do is you're going to push down here and pull out. Then we're going to follow the wire down. So we're going to attach it to that tab there, that fascia tab, and we need to pry that off. Just like that. We're going to repeat that on the other side of the vehicle. Once you have the other side done, we're going to have a plug right in the center. It's going to be right here. We need to disconnect that one as well. Again, you have this little locking tab. We're going to pull that out and separate the two. This one here is attached here and it runs up to the body of the vehicle. We need to pop this off right here. Trim panel tool. We'll just pop that off like that. So we need to follow where our lower part of our fascia hits that part of our fascia where our center wire was. You'll see these tabs. We're going to have one right behind this. All we're going to do is, that one's kind of hard to see. I'll show you on the next one here. Kind of pull out on the lower part of the fascia. There's a little tab on it. You need to kind of push down on. What you're going to do, you see where that's separate in the center? You're going to kind of push down on it. You're going to work your way all the way around to the other side, popping those out. You're going to have one right behind this box. And they pop out pretty easy. You just gotta find them all. You'll know if you don't, because that part of that fascia is gonna be kind of tight on there. You don't need a tool or anything, you can just push it down with your fingers. And it's kind of hard to see, so you're gonna kind of have to feel for them. And you can see how many of them there are. Once you get it off, we're gonna set this aside somewhere safe. We're gonna take an 18mm socket. We're gonna move the lower nut right underneath of our bumper beam. I suggest doing it with a socket or a wrench first, and then you can come back if you have a power tool and use it. Loosen it first, and then come back with your power tool. We're gonna repeat that on the other side. Then we're gonna come to the top of our bumper beam. We're gonna have another one on the top here. And we're just gonna repeat that same thing we did on the bottom. Loosen them with your socket wrench or wrench, and then we can come back if you have a power tool to remove them all the way. I'm gonna leave the nut on just a little bit, so when I take the other side off, this doesn't fall. So what you might find is if this is stuck on there, it won't come off. Sometimes I'll put some a sticky film back there to keep moisture from getting inside the frame rail. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna flathead screwdriver, trim panel tool, and we're gonna kind of pry that loose like that. We'll do that on each side. And then we can slide off our bumper beam. Then we need to trim out our fascia. You're gonna make sure you're doing it on the right side. Let's see this little tab here. We're gonna use this as our center mark. We're gonna follow the instructions, 3 inches wide. So I went 1.5 inches each way from the center. And it says to go 2 inches up from this edge. I would say go from where this fold is up 2 inches rather than here. You're not gonna see it, so even if you have to cut out a little bit more, no big deal. So 2 inches up, 3 inches across. We're gonna cut that out with some tin snips. We'll go ahead and once we have it cut out, we'll reinstall it and then test fit our hitch, see if we need to trim out anymore. I'm just gonna use some tin snips. Now I just set my hitch up in place. From their instructions, you can see we're gonna have to go a little bit wider. So we'll pull this back off. We can just take our tin snips and kind of widen that just a little bit, and then we can install our hitch. Once you've got it trimmed out as necessary, you can come back and you can tighten all the nuts that are holding your heat shield in place. So now we'll get an extra set of hands. We'll set our hitch up into place. We're going to take our bumper beam, and it's going to go right over the top of it. Go ahead and get our hardware put back in. We'll get the nuts put back on. If you find it that it's easier to put the heat shield on second in order to get to that hardware, you can. You can see what I did. I just kind of bent it down a little bit. I can always bend it back. Then we're going to come back and we're going to tighten and then torque all of our hardware to the specifications and the instructions. And we'll reinstall our exhaust. So it's not going to tell you this in the instructions, but what I'm finding is this little plastic tab here, this piece here, is actually hitting the hitch. So what we're going to have to do is, you can see where my red mark is. We're not going to go all the way up. We're just going to cut off this plastic piece here. So I'm going to go to the outside of this line, right up along this edge, and then down like that. Probably use a utility knife to cut this as well. It's just plastic. Do a little test fit. Let's see if we can get in far enough. Once you've reattached your hangers, you've got the lower edge of your fascia trimmed out where it will fit with your hitch. Go ahead and reinstall your fascia in reverse order from the way you took it off. Once you're done with all that, we're going to come up and we're going to reinstall this hanger here in the center. We can remove our strap. And then last but not least, the true screws or 2 bolts that went in right here on the back side. You're not going to be able to reinstall those because the hitch runs right over the top of those. Once you've got everything else done, you're ready to go. It's going to do it for a look at and installation on the CURT Class 3 Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLC.